Woodson, Board Chair. We will now officially open this meeting of the Illinois Board of Review for today, December 19th, 2023. Several preliminary matters before we begin our hearing. One, you should know, all of the appellants who are present, that this is a formal hearing. You should treat it as if you were in court physically. So that means you need to be upright, seated properly, no eating, etc. during the hearing. If men, take your hat off as you would if you were in the building. Please be dressed appropriately. You can't be reclining in your bed or your chair or lying on the floor. We need you to be upright and focused on the hearing. The outcome of these hearings can have significant impact on your property. So we want you to get a fair hearing. Secondly, we have a court reporter, and everything that we say during these proceedings is being recorded. So each person has to be patient and one person speaking at a time. We can't have multiple speakers because that would interfere with the record. The third thing is we will hear preliminarily that a number of cases have been resolved, and you will often hear terms such as moot or moot complied. That means your case has been resolved. You can sign off and you're done for the day. If you need further explanation as to what that means and the impact on you, call the office. There's a telephone number on the notices that you received. Call them and they will explain what moot as compared to moot complied means. Therefore, we don't have to stop hearing in order to explain everything to you. Thank you very much for your participation and your cooperation. We will do our best to get to you as quickly as we can, but we have a very long list today, and so we're going to begin with hearing from the law department. A representative from the law department will give us all the preliminary cases that have been resolved or continuous requests, etc. Who's representing the law department?
Good afternoon, board members. This is Michael Rouleau on behalf of the city of Philadelphia.
Good afternoon, Mr. Rouleau.
Give me 1 second. I'm just pulling up our document here.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, Mr. Rouleau, before you begin that, I'm one additional matter I've asked our legal counsel to put on the record. Mr. McSherry, Brian McSherry.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Just with respect to any matters in which counsel for the city and the appellants have reached a settlement agreement, I would just advise the chairperson to just have counsel for the city just briefly read the terms of the settlement agreement into the record. The board does not need to vote on that settlement agreement as long as it's noted for the record.
Okay, thank you. And one additional matter, with the board and the panelists will introduce themselves. We didn't do that yet. So again, I'm Kenneth Woodson, board chair.
Ralph Pincus, board member.
Steve Pettit, board member.
Roger Tennant, senior board member.
Beverly Penn, board member.
Ken Washington, board member.
And McSherry, board counsel.
Richard Wade, board administrator.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Rouleau.
Thank you. Beginning with number 11 on the list, appeal ending 004385 concerning 38 South Cecil Street. Appellant is a Terry McVlor. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. That can be marked moot.
Moot, thank you.
Moving to number 14.
Excuse me, could you repeat that case number again, please?
Yes, that was, pardon. Number 11, appeal ending 004385.
Thank you.
Moving to number 14, appeal ending 000072 concerning 428 North Redfield Street. Appellant is an Arthur Sheffield Jr. That matter was settled, and the terms of that was a city affirm with a 60-day stay of enforcement.
Thank you.
Moving to number 21, appeal ending 000150 concerning 1628 Green Street. Appellant is an Albert Watchlin Jr. That matter can be marked moot complied.
Moot complied, thank you.
Moving to number 23, appeal ending 000164 265 Rubicam Street. Appellant is a Moz Properties LLC. That could be marked moot complied.
Moot complied, thank you.
Moving to number 24, appeal ending 000174, 2716 Webb Street. Appellant is a Justin Rispo. That can be marked moot complied.
Moot compliant. Thank you.
Moving to number 26, appeal ending 000228, 1504 West Ruscombe Street. Appellant is a Robert Dubois Jr. That can be marked moot.
Moot. Thank you.
Moving to number 27, appeal ending 000230, 2019 Cemetery Avenue. The appellants are a Kamba Jibese and a Alab Boya. That can be marked moot.
Moot. Okay. Thank you.
Moving to number 29, appeal ending 000235, 6114 Lawndale Street. The appellants are we see Ain Saint Fern, I believe. Pardon if I'm mispronouncing that. That can be marked moot complied.
Moot compliant. Thank you.
Moving to number 31, appeal ending 000263 concerning 436 South 54th Street. Appellant is a Monet Amos. That can be marked moot complied.
Moot compliant. Okay. Thank you.
Moving to number 32, appeal ending 000265 concerning 1531 Orthodox Street. The appellant is a Joseph Headley. That appeal was withdrawn by the appellant. And I believe that was sent to the board on November 20th.
Okay. So noted is withdrawn.
Moving to number 33, appeal ending 000269 concerning 6623 McCallum Street. The appellants are a Robert E. Cargney Mitchell and Elaine Petrov. That can be marked moot complied.
Moot compliant. Thank you.
Moving to number 34, appeal ending 000272 concerning 129 North Mole Street. The appellant is an Elizabeth Dersroth. That appeal was withdrawn by the appellant per an email that I believe was sent last week.
Okay. So noted is withdrawn.
Moving to number 36, appeal ending 000279 concerning 2934 Brighton Street. The appellant is a Kai Chen. That can be marked moot complied.
Moot compliant. Thank you.
Moving to number 37, appeal ending 000291 concerning 1208 South Marco Street. Appellant Roseanne Durrell. That can be marked moot complied.
Moot compliant. Thank you.
Moving to number 38, appeal ending 000412 concerning 2566 Coral Street. The appellant is an Angela Romero Monsalve. That can be marked moot complied.
Moot compliant. Thank you.
And just a few other preliminary matters on my end, and then I will turn it over to any colleagues who have settlements or continuance requests to put in. I direct the board's attention to number 5, which is appeal 004251 concerning 2544 Jasper Street. The appellant is a Pusadi Bunchun. The city is requesting a continuance in that matter so that a reinspection can occur, as we believe that could resolve the matter.
Okay. Is anyone present representing the interests of 2544 Jasper Street? Is anyone present? Mr. Wade, do we have anybody in the waiting room with that name?
I do not see anyone. Everyone is identified,
Okay. Well,
and I don't see anyone with that under that name.
okay. We don't see anyone present who is responding. So we will grant the request for continuance, Mr. Rulo. Has anyone communicated with the appellant?
I have not heard back from the appellant.
Okay. All right. We'll note it as continued for follow-up inspection.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
And then moving to numbers 19 and 20 on the list, which are appeals 000146 and Appeal 000147. Both concern 3220 Winter Street, and the appellant is a Sandra Gibson. My understanding is that Ms. Gibson submitted continuance requests on both matters, which the city did not oppose under the circumstances. So I just wanted to confirm whether or not the board was
Yes.
going to continue those.
The board did review those two matters in executive session, but we wanted to hear from the law department as to the law department's position.
Yes, I believe that my colleague, Shelley Reinhardt, had responded earlier and indicated that the city was not going to oppose those continuance requests.
Okay, alrighty. Well, we will continue this matter based on the request. Thank you.
And I believe that does it for my matters, and I will turn it over to colleagues with any other things that need to be entered into the record.
Okay, thank you. As per our usual procedure, please indicate with the raised hand. I see Mr. Jason Greenspan. You're muted, Mr. Greenspan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. I'm here for the last add-on on your list. It is relating to the property address at 2200 Oregon Avenue.
Yes.
It's just for the record purposes, it's HA 2023-004729. That matter can be marked moot complied.
Moot complied. Okay. Thank you.
And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Caroline Curley.
Good afternoon, board. I just have 3 preliminary matters for you today. As to number 1 on the list, HA 2022-002773 regarding 8 Oregon Avenue. Appellant is Americo Real Estate Company. The parties reached an agreement on that matter that was sent to the board earlier this week, but for the record, the violations contained in violation number 720327 and CF 2023-000665. Those are affirmed with 120-day stay of enforcement. So until May 4th, 2024. So that should resolve that matter.
Okay, so noted.
And then for next, number 15 on the list, that is HA 2023-000097. The address is 1537 South Broad Street. Appellant is Angel Chung. The parties also reached an agreement on this matter, which was forwarded to the board this morning, whereby the violations contained in the violation notice are affirmed, and there is a 90-day stay of enforcement until March 19th, 2024. So that should resolve that matter.
Okay, thank you. So noted.
And then lastly for the board, for number 22, that's HA 2023-000160. The property is 8575 Torresdale Avenue. Appellant is Joseph Smith. The department was contacted by appellant's counsel, Mr. Sean Ward. Mr. Ward requested a continuance of this matter. The city's not going to oppose that due to Mr. Ward's unavailability today. I did just want to raise, and I think I noted this in my email, that their appellant has another appeal that is currently scheduled January 18th, 2024. You know, if the board had availability on that day, the 2 matters could be heard together.
Okay, Mr. Wade, if you would just note that and see if that can be accommodated. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, anything else, Ms. Curley?
No,
That was Joseph Smith?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Will Fernandez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have 2 matters to address now. The first is number 13 on the list, appeal ending in 0038, address 7715 Ogons Avenue, appellant Jose Tena, trading as 7715 Ogons Avenue, LLC. I just spoke to Jermaine Harris about 10 minutes before the hearing was scheduled to start. He was retained by this appellant, I believe, this morning. after I notified them, I think a few days ago or maybe yesterday, that because they were cited as an LLC, they would need a lawyer to go forward with their appeal. In our conversation, Mr. Harris represented that he'd be requesting a continuance request, and I told him that given the circumstances, I would not oppose the continuance request.
Okay, so we should know for the record that Mr. Harris's intent, have you received that formal request? That
No, it was
continue-
just a phone call right before the hearing started.
Okay, so
Yes, this is Jermaine Harris. Yes, I was
okay, sir,
duly
Mr.
hired
Harris,
just about an hour ago.
yeah, if we
so-
please put your name on the record, please.
Yes, Jermaine Harris, and I'm counsel for the appellant in this case that Mr. Fernandez is speaking of.
Okay, and tell us who that is.
And that would be 7715 Ogons Avenue LLC.
Okay, thank you very much. We will note it as continued.
Thank you. May be excused.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next case I'd like to address is number 30 on the list, appeal ending in 0248, address 2723 Judson Street, appellant Maisha Allen. I am not sure if Miss Allen is here presently. I don't see her here, but I've had a few conversations with her over the last several days. To be very brief, the city has issued violations alleging that this property is being used as a rooming house without the requisite use registration permit, and a couple of other violations. In our conversation, Miss Allen represented that in fact it is family living there and that it is not being used as a rooming house. Because the most recent attempt to re-inspect the property failed and was could not enter, there hasn't been an inspection since I think January of this year or maybe December of last year. And so after speaking to Ms. Allen, I agreed to request a continuance in this matter so that we could re-inspect. One thing I'd like to put on the record is that my agreement to request this continuance was contingent on her cooperating and giving us access to the property. She agreed to. We have her email address and cell phone number, so I don't think it should be a problem logistically, but previously we had issues attempting to contact her and arrange an inspection.
Okay, thank you. So noted. We'll continue this matter.
Thank you.
Is that
That
it?
concludes my matters for now. Yes, thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Chairman.
Mr. Christopher Johnson. You muted, Mr. Johnson.
Good afternoon, distinguished members of the board, and happy holidays to everyone on the call.
Thank you.
I'm going to call your attention to number 2 on today's list. It's Appeal HA 2022-004239 regarding 2021 Westmoreland Street. The department has rescinded and withdrawn the violation, and as a result, the appeal should be marked as moot.
Noted as moot. Okay, thank you.
And secondly, I'm going to call your attention to number 12, Appeal HA-2022-004395 regarding 1600 West Girard Avenue. I was in touch with Attorney Phillips regarding that case, and we've agreed to ask for a brief continuance on it. It's my understanding that pending an inspection later this week, the violation should all be marked complied and all the licenses should be obtained.
Okay, thank you. All righty. We will note this continue.
Thank you.
Okay, I think the next person I see is Lee Bergerman.
Yes, hi, good afternoon. I have a couple of
Excuse me.
preliminary matters. The first concerns case number 17 on the list, appeal HA-2023-000115 concerning 1121 North Street. I believe the board received a continuance request from the appellant, I think it was yesterday, and I noted via email that the city does not oppose that continuance request. I just wanted to make sure that that was
Yes.
indeed received and marked continued.
We will note it as continued. We did receive that.
I'm sorry,
Great.
what case was that?
Number 17 on the list.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I also believe I received a continuance request just before the hearing started for believe it's number 28 on the list. Appeal ending in 231. I think I see the appellant here, and I don't know if that request was withdrawn.
Would you just put the address on the record so we know we're representing?
Sure, it's 544 North 55th Street.
And
I
is
can
that
confirm that the appellant is here and does not need that continuance request any longer.
okay? And that's appeal ending in 000231, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Gary Sullivan, are you present?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Are you withdrawing that appeal, that continuance request?
Well, I would like to uphold the continuance if possible. I would like to have a continuance.
Your continuance, well, okay, your request was not timely.
I understand.
So that means it's unlikely you'll get a continuance. You're not prepared to move forward right in today's hearing?
Well, I can if I can, yes.
Okay. Have you had any conversations with the attorney representing the city?
I have not had any conversations with anyone.
Okay, you probably should do that, Mr. Begelman. Are you available to have a breakout room conversation with Mr.
Sure.
Sullivan?
Yes, I can.
Okay, Mr. Sullivan, if your case is heard today, you'll need to turn your camera on so we can see you.
I have a computer that doesn't have a camera.
That's
Okay,
a problem. So you need to talk to Mr. Begelman.
okay.
Just one moment before you do that, though.
I'd be happy to go to breakout room after I'm finished.
Yes, just hold on, Mr. Sullivan, until we complete this next few matters, and then we'll get you in the breakout room.
Sure.
Okay, let's continue.
All right. I have two cases where I do not think an appellant is here. I don't know if the board wants to go out of order and dispose of those now, or have them
No,
called.
we'll call those in regular order.
That's fine. And with that, that's all for my preliminary matters.
Okay, Mr. Rulon. Please, yeah, there you go.
Yes, I just wanted to direct the board's attention to, excuse me, I accidentally brought this, there it is. To number 9 on the list, appeal ending 004335 concerning 7200 North 21st Street. The appellant is Concerned Black Men Incorporated. I wanted to flag this as there is no attorney present and the cited entity is a corporate entity.
Okay.
Someone.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Nix is trying to grab your attention.
Okay.
He might be the attorney for that case.
Okay.
Thank you, Nick. Yes, this is Michael Nix. I am just coming in on behalf of the Concerned Black Men on that particular property on 7200 North 21st Street.
Okay.
I honestly don't know how to flag on the Zoom thing. I was looking for the flag. I couldn't find it.
Yeah, it's down near the bottom, options for the hand raise.
Yeah,
But,
I just didn't see it.
Okay.
I was trying to see, again, because I am last minute, if I could speak in a breakout room to the city's attorney on this matter.
Okay. Mr. Rulo, you're the listed attorney for this. Am I correct?
I am. So I was unaware until this moment that there was an attorney on the case. And I'd also note that the appeal that was submitted here actually lacks any text whatsoever in the reason for the appeal category. So I don't, I've obviously not had a chance to communicate with Mr. Nix, and I, in this situation, I also have no idea what the basis for the appeal was.
Okay.
So I think realistically here, I'm happy to speak with Mr. Nix, but it would appear that, this would not be able to go forward today.
Well, the other matter is that, just for the record, we heard this matter on the 26th of September, and we continued it for lack of counsel. So this is the second bite at the apple. So just be aware that during your conversations during the breakout session.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so Mr. Wade, if you could accommodate that request.
Mr. Roy, who's going in the breakout room with you? Do you have a
Mr.
inspector
Nix.
as well?
Oh.
Do you also want an inspector in there or no?
Not at this time.
All right, room 4.
Okay, Miss Caroline Curley.
Yes,
Excuse me, just real quick before y'all go away.
They've
We
already,
have- We have Mark Temple over there. Do he need to go into the breakout room also?
I'm not sure if he's associated with this case.
He's with the Concerned Black Men.
Oh, I don't, that's
Mr.
his
Temple,
lawyer's.
could you unmute yourself, please?
Yeah, I guess it would be his lawyer's prerogative.
Well, if Mr. Nix would like me to come in, I will go in with him.
Okay, so if you, Mr. Wade, give him access to room 4, please, and so they can discuss.
Mr. Chairman, I think it's
Yes.
important to note that the appellant, there's also an appellant, Todd Harrison, who's here for Concerned Black Men who I think was here before. He's also not been invited into the breakout room. I think Mr. Rulo and Mr. Nix made it clear that they were going to speak privately first and
Okay,
then
that's fine.
come back and let us know what they were going to do.
Okay,
That's fine. Thank you.
okay, all right. Just want to be accommodating where possible. Okay, Ms. Curley.
Yeah, so sorry, board. I neglected one additional matter. The add-on number 39, that's HA 2023-003-005. The appellant is Francisco Morales. I just wanted to alert for the board. I'm not sure if Mr. Morales is here or if there's anyone on his behalf, but this was an emergency list and our inspector needs to leave before 4 p.m. So to the extent this matter is addressed before Inspector Lee has to leave, that would be appreciated. But I'm not seeing anyone or hearing anyone on the matter.
Okay.
So that
Well,
may
because
resolve
yeah,
itself.
yeah, it may, but we just want to check, Mr. Wade. Do we have an
Yes, there's an
Spanish
interpreter.
interpreter?
Yes.
Okay, so we have everybody ready to go as soon as we get through these preliminary matters, Ms. Curley.
Okay, great. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
All right. Is there anyone else who has any preliminary matters before the board? Okay. Thank you. I have a few matters that the board raised in executive session. I just want to quickly go through those. And I'll need this, the attorney representing the city on each of these cases to respond as quickly as possible. The first one is number 3, ending in 004246. It's 2958 North Hicks Street. North Hicks. Who's the city's attorney?
That is Caroline Curley.
Ms. Curley, is there anyone present? Lawrence Lovelace, are you present?
Mr. Chair, Mr.
Yes.
Chair, if I may, it's 20, my record says 2958
Oh.
North Hicks.
My apologies, I misspoke. 2958 North Hicks, you're absolutely correct. Okay, Lawrence Lovelace, are you present? Lawrence Lovelace. The issue for us, Ms. Curley, is that we believe there's an issue of standing and quite possibly a need for an attorney because I think there's corporate ownership.
Yes, my understanding is that this was before the board, I believe in September on this very issue. I do apologize. This was handled by a previous another colleague of mine. So I do believe that this has already been continued for this is the second listing on this matter for this very issue for not having counsel.
Okay. Anyone present representing it? Now, Ms. Kurt, I think what we'll do, because I know you have other matters before today as well, correct?
Yep, this one and the last one.
Okay, so what we'll do, we'll come back to this in regular order and dispose of it then.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, thank you. Alrighty, let's move on to number 4. It's ending in 004247, 2958 North Hicks Street. Yes, both of them.
That'll be the same case.
Yes, the same matter. My apologies. Okay, so both of those we will call later. Number 6 is ending in 004280, 5737 Elmwood Avenue, Young Lamb, LAM. Who's representing the city? Who's representing the city? Please unmute and
Hi, it's Christopher Johnson.
Mr. Johnson, we have a question of standing in this matter. Is anyone
I
present?
was going to raise that as well. I know that Dong Lam is not the person who owns the property or the person whom the violation was written against, and therefore we're going to ask to dismiss the case. But I don't think anyone appeared on that case today either.
Okay, so no one is currently present. Okay, we'll come back to it then. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Alrighty. Mr. Begelman, you have an additional matter for us?
No, just to update on my conversation with Mr. Sullivan in the breakout room.
Yes.
We've reached an agreement, asked that this appeal be marked city affirm with a reduced fine of $750.
Okay, would you read in the numbers, please, and the identifiers so we
Yes.
can put it on the record?
One moment. Yes, this is case number 28 on the list, appeal HA-2023-000231. The address is 544 North 55th Street, The appellant is a Gary Sullivan, and we reached an agreement to mark this appeal a city affirm with a reduced fine of $750.
$750 fine. Okay. All right. So noted for the record. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Just back to this matter that we're, okay, number 7 on the list. Last ending in 004286, 1327-29 North 18th Street. Rahil Raza, doing business as Raza Property Group. Who's representing the city?
It's Christopher Johnson for the city of Philadelphia.
Mr. Johnson, again, we had concerns about lack of legal counsel. Is anyone present representing Mr. Raza Property Group?
From what I can tell, I don't think anyone appeared on that case today.
Okay, so we will deal with that in regular order then. Okay, thank you. The next one would be number 8, 004296, 2616 North 16th Street, Jane Simon. Who's representing the city?
I am Lee Bagelman for the city of Philadelphia.
Mr. Bagelman, we have a concern regarding standing.
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Simon, I don't believe he's here. This is a continued matter. He was on a couple months ago where this issue was discussed. He has a tangled title issue. I did have a conversation with Mr. Simon, gave him information on how to find legal counsel to resolve this issue. We tried to I thought we did reach an agreement, but he's not signed any agreement and nor returned any of my emails. So considering both the standing issue and that he's not here, they asked that this Mark City affirm.
Okay, what we'll do, we'll come again. We'll resolve that shortly as we get
Okay.
through these preliminary matters. Thank you.
Great.
Okay, number 9. Well, we just discussed that one. This is back to that. Mr. Rulo, how are we proceeding in this matter?
Yes, so I just had an opportunity to speak with Mr. Nix. I think that we actually have potential to settle this fairly quickly. So, you know, since Mr. Nix has just been retained, and understanding that I know that there was already a continuance here, the city's unable to proceed today because we have no knowledge for what the basis of the appeal was. And, you know, Mr. Nix was just retained, so I still don't have that information. You know, if under different circumstances, city might have, you know, asked that this be, you know, go forward today, but I just don't have that capacity today. So I'd ask that, you know, we jointly ask that it be continued, and my expectation is that we'll be settling it.
Okay, so this joint request, we'll note it as continued with the requirement that must be heard next time up. And so this is the last continuance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, have a good day, afternoon, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Nix, always a pleasure to see you, sir.
How are you, sir? It's good to see you.
Fine,
been a
thank
minute.
you.
Mr. Chair, I'm
well?
sorry.
Was there a request? Mr.
Was
Wade?
that Mark must be tried?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Number 25. Ending in 000175, 2430 North Park Avenue. Angelique Hunter, doing business as I Hate, 2428-30 North Park Avenue, LLC. Who's the city attorney?
Hi, it's Christopher Johnson of the city of Philadelphia.
Mr. Johnson, it appears that there's need for legal counsel to represent I Hate 2428-30 North Park.
I did notice that, and I would ask that this one as well be listed in order, because I don't believe anyone has appeared on that either.
Okay, so there's no legal counsel present that you're aware of?
Nope.
Okay, all right, thank you. Let's move then to...
Mr. Chair, I would like to go back to case number 16. Was that settled?
Number 16?
Yes, sir.
Number 16 was not settled, and I missed it. Okay, thank you. Number 16, ending in 000103, 2131 Reed Street, Garrett Buono, Buono. Who's representing the city?
Lee Bagelman for the city of Philadelphia.
Mr. Bagelman, is Mr. Buono present? Or anyone
I don't
representing the
believe
interest?
so.
Okay, we have an issue of standing here, but I don't know who's the responsible party.
I've looked into this, and I believe the appellant is the owner of the property. According to OPA, The two owners are an Elizabeth Thomas and then a Garrett Buono Dello. So my assumption is that Garrett Buono is the responsible party for this.
But there's a second person whose name is also in the deed.
Correct, yes.
So we would have to establish the fact that he has legal authority to proceed if he responds when it's called.
Right.
Okay. All right, thank you. Alrighty. I believe that's it in terms of preliminary matters. Mr. Wade, unless we've gotten a different request from someone else, we're going to start with number 39.
Okay, I'd just like the Spanish interpreter to introduce themselves.
Okay.
And hello, my name is Steven, and I'll be the Spanish interpreter.
Okay, sir. Would you mind putting your last name on the
Yes.
on the record as well? So give us your full name, and so we can reference you that way.
My name is Steven Aubain, Aubain.
Okay. And sir, would you raise your right hand so that you may be sworn? Do you swear or affirm that you will faithfully translate between English and Spanish to English of these proceedings concerning 2100 Plum Street?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you. As you've done this before, I think, Mr. Aubain, we would like you to interpret everything that's uttered in English, and also the appellant will respond through you in Spanish, and you will interpret that to us. Okay, understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's go forward. Mr. Wade, would you call the case?
Case number 39, hearing appeal ending 3005, 2100 Plum Street, Francisco Morales.
Así que llamando para el caso 393005 en la 2100 Plum Street, and the interpreter requires the name again.
Francisco Morales.
Francisco Morales, si está en la línea.
Okay, who's representing the city?
Caroline Curley.
Y Caroline Curley representa la ciudad.
Okay. Mr. Morales.
Señor Morales está en la línea.
Okay, Mr. Wade, Ms. Curley, there's no response. Mr. Wade, has service been provided?
Yes.
Interpreter?
Así que le preguntó al señor Wade si el servicio ha sido proveído y contestó que sí.
Ms. Curley, what is your preference?
The city would request a city affirm due to lack of prosecution.
Y la ciudad pide afirmación debido a falta de ejecución.
Mr. Pincus, what time do you have? Mr. Interpreter?
Y señor Pincus, ¿qué hora usted tiene?
Mr. Pincus? Oh,
Señor.
sorry.
I'm sorry, city affirmed non-appearance.
Well, no, we haven't gotten the time yet. You're ahead of us.
2:19 p.m.
2:19 p.m. Okay.
Así que la hora es las 2:19 de la tarde.
Okay. We will poll the board on HA-2023-003005.
Así que le vamos a pedir a la Junta acerca del HA 2023-003005
2100 Plum Street.
para la dirección de 2100 Plum Street.
Francisco Morales.
Y el nombre Francisco Morales.
City affirmed the non-appearance.
Y la ciudad afirma que no se apareció.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed for non-appearance.
I have a question before I vote. What, Mr. Wade, was the SNB auto serviced?
No.
I'm not sure. Wait a minute, Mr. Washington. What is? I'm a little confused.
Well, it says the responsible party on the notice to an order to correct was sent to SB Auto Services Inc., 4608 Thorsdale Avenue.
Okay.
No, the correspondence was only to the named appellant Francisco Morales.
And I would just jump in here, Board Member Washington. the SBI Auto is the owner of the property, but is not we do not believe it's the direct operator of the property. And Mr. Morales is the only appellant. So he's not here today and he's not pursuing his appeal. SBI Auto did not appeal.
Okay. Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
The city affirmed for non-appearance.
Thank you. Okay, I think that's a complete vote. Mr. Morales is not present, so I guess technically we really didn't need to interpret for them. But thank you very much for your cooperation. That resolves this matter. Mr. Interpreter, Mr. Alban, I think we're complete today. Mr. Wade, do we have any other interpreting, Spanish interpretation required?
No, we do not.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Alban. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you for using our service. You as well. Bye.
Okay, so unless Mr. Wade, we've got another request for out of order, let's go back to the top of the list.
No request at this time. This will bring us to cases 3 and 4. Case number 3, hearing appeal ending 4246, 2958 North Hick Street, Lawrence Lovelace. Service was made. This case was previously continued for counsel September 26th.
Okay. Given that you have two cases at that address, please put the other case on the record.
Case number 4, hearing appeal ending 4247, 2958 North Hicks, Lawrence Lovelace.
Thank you. Was there service in both matters?
Both matters.
Okay.
Both matters continued from 926 for counsel. Service in both matters for today's.
Okay. Thank you. Is anyone here present representing the interests of 2958 North Hicks Street? Okay. Who's representing the city?
Caroline Curley.
What is your preference?
The city would ask for a city affirm based on failure to appear.
Thank you. We will poll the board regarding 004246 and 004247, both of which apply to 2958 North Hicks Street, Lawrence Lovelace, city affirm non-appearance. Oh, one additional matter before we vote. Mr. Pincus, what time do you have?
2:23 PM, Mr. Chair.
2:23 PM. Starting the vote, city affirm non-appearance.
City affirm non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirm non-appearance.
City affirm for non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
Thank you very much. The next matter, Mr. Wade.
Case number 6, hearing appeal HA 2022 004280 5737 Elmwood Avenue, Duong Lam.
Okay, anyone present representing Duong Lam? And the city attorney?
It's Christopher Johnson for the city of Philadelphia.
Okay, Mr. Wade, was there service?
This case was previously continued from September 26th. Service was made for today's hearing.
Okay, thank you. Your preference, Mr. Johnson?
The city is going to ask that it be marked as city affirm failure to appear.
Thank you. Time, Mr. Pincus?
2:24 PM.
2:24 PM. Thank you very much. We will, excuse me, poll the board on HA 2022-004280 5737 Elmwood Avenue, Duong Lam, city affirm non-appearance.
City affirm non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirm non-appearance.
City affirm for non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Wade?
Case number 7, hearing appeal ending 4286 1327 through 29 North 18th Street, Rahil Raza, doing business as Raza Property Group. Service was made.
Thank you. City attorney?
Christopher Johnson for the city of Philadelphia.
Okay, and your preference, Mr. Johnson?
The city is going to ask the board to mark it as city affirm failure to appear.
Thank you. Time, Mr. Pincus?
2:25 PM. Should we confirm that there's no one here for the appellant, Mr. Chair?
Yes. Okay, no one's responded yet. Mr. Wade, anyone in the waiting room who has not been identified?
Everyone is identified.
Okay, unless there's
no one under this name.
Okay, no legal counsel indicating they represent Mr. Raza's interests. Okay, thank you. We will then poll the board on 004-286-1327-29 North 18th Street. Rahil Raza doing business as Raza Property Group. City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
I think we're missing
City
Mr.
affirmed
Watt.
for non-appearance. Sorry.
City affirmed non-appearance, and I'm assuming we're using 225.
Yes, 225. Thank you. Ready? Next.
Case number 8, hearing appeal ending 4296, 2616 North 16th Street, James Simon.
Okay, city attorney.
Lee Bagelman for the city of Philadelphia.
Okay. James Simon. James Simon. Anyone present? Representing the interests of 2616 North 16th Street. James Simon. Was there service, Mr. Wade?
Yes, this case was continued from 9/26 and service was made on both dates.
Thank you. Okay. The preference, Mr. Begelman?
Yes, the city requests this be marked a city affirm for non-appearance.
Thank you. Ms. Pincus, what time you have?
2:27 PM.
2:27 p.m. We will poll the board on 004-296-2616 North 16th Street. James Simon. City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed for non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
Thank you very much. Okay, what's the next matter, Mr. Wade?
Case number 10, hearing appeal ending 4363, 2401 South Broad Street, David Christick and Michelle Hatuka.
Yes,
Okay.
David Krish is here.
Okay.
For the city, my colleague Mike Rulo will be handling, but his computer just forced a restart. So
He's coming in now.
Oh,
It's okay.
Great.
He's joining up now.
Perfect.
Okay. Alrighty, just for a moment, sir, we'll be right with you.
Board members, this is Michael Rulo. I'm on number 10. My understanding was just called. I just restarted, my laptop restarted. I'm not sure if that's still on.
Oh yes, we're just patiently waiting for your appearance. So if you're ready, we're ready.
I am back.
Okay, good. Before we get started though, Mr. Kirsch, I just want to sure I'm pronouncing that correctly. Would you pronounce your last name for us, please?
Thank you for asking. It's Krish.
Krish? Okay. Would you raise your right hand so that you may be sworn, sir?
Yes.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you give today will be true so help you God?
Yes.
Okay. Before we get started though, Mr. Krish, whose name is on the deed to this property?
My wife and I,
And who is your wife?
Michelle Hatuka.
Okay. Is she present today?
She's upstairs ill with my youngest or
Okay.
my younger son.
Okay. So she isn't on camera today.
No, she did sign the petition with me though.
Okay. We're just checking to make certain that in fact, she is the two of you are the only two owners names on the deed, correct?
That's correct. Husband and
Okay.
wife.
Okay. Thank you. All right. That being said, we will, Mr. Rulo, do you have a witness today?
Yes, I have John Horvey.
Mr. Horvey, are you present? I don't see him.
If you could give me a minute to,
Okay.
just 1 second.
And just to everyone, I apologize for how I look. The whole house has sickness going around. So I was actually just holding my newborn. I just put her down. So I'm sorry we all look like this.
Okay. Understood. We'll get started as soon as the witness comes on screen.
Board members, if we could actually put this on hold for a moment, I'm trying to get a hold of the witness.
Oh, okay. Let's do this. Mr. Kirsch, I'm going to have to apologize to you and ask if for your indulgence here and your patience, so we can gather the other person who should be on the screen. So we're going to set this aside and go to another matter and come back to you. And we'll get back to you.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
I'm just looking at the appeal that was filed by Mr. Krish and his memorandum attached to that. Mr. Krish represents that he's an attorney as well. I'm just wondering whether, is it Mr. Beagleman who's on this case? Whether they, or Mr. Rulo? I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Rulo, yes.
Have you had an opportunity to discuss resolving this matter?
I have not. I'd be willing to enter into a breakout room with Mr. Krish, based on what is in the memorandum that Mr. Krish submitted. I'm suspecting that we would not be able to, given the positions Mr. Krish is taking, but I'd be happy to still talk about that in a breakout room. I'm handling this matter on another attorney, so I'm getting caught up on behalf of another attorney. So I'm getting caught up on this in the past 24 hours.
Okay. Mr. Krish, are you willing to have a conversation with Mr. Rulo with an opportunity to consider resolving this?
Yes, would the breakout session happen right now?
Yes.
Yes, of course, I'd be willing to.
Mr. Rulo, okay. Mr. Wade, would you put them in a breakout room, please?
Sure.
Okay. All right, thank you. While they're doing that, let's move on to the next matter.
Case number 16, hearing appeal ending 0103, 2131 Reed Street, Garrett Bono.
Okay. Who's representing the city?
Lee Begelman for the city of Philadelphia.
Mr. Begelman. Also is the appellant present, Garrett Bono. Garrett Bono or anyone representing the interests of Mr. Bono or 2131 Reed Street. Okay, no response. Was there service, Mr. Wade?
Service. Service was made to the address on his appeal. Service was made to the address on his appeal, yes.
Okay.
And I also emailed exhibits to him yesterday. Did not receive a response, but I sent him the exhibits.
Okay. And what is your preference then, Mr. Begelman?
We'll ask that this be marked city affirm for failure to appear.
Okay. Time, Mr. Pincus?
2:34 p.m.
2:34 p.m. Already. We will then poll the board on 00103 2131 Reed Street, Garrett Bono. City affirm non-appearance.
City affirm non-appearance.
City affirm non-appearance.
City affirm non-appearance.
City affirm for non-appearance.
City affirm non-appearance.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Wade, what's next?
Case number 18, hearing appeal ending 0122, 318 Kingsley Street, Kathleen and Catherine Evans.
Okay, city attorney? City attorney.
I believe that's Mike Rolio.
Okay, he's in the breakout room. So what we'll need to do is set this. We'll go on to other cases and come back because the attorney representing the city is attempting to negotiate a settlement on a different matter. So if you just be more patient, we'll get back to you shortly. Okay, let's move on. What do we have next?
Case number 22, hearing appeal ending 0160 8575 Tarsdale Avenue, Joseph Smith.
I believe that was resolved earlier. There was a continuance request.
And was that officially granted?
Yes.
I'm sorry, that was continued to 118.
Yes.
Okay, apologies. case number 25, hearing appeal ending 0175, 2430 North Park Avenue. Angelique Hunter, doing business as I Hate, 242830 North Park Avenue.
City Attorney?
Christopher Johnson for the city. I don't believe anyone's appeared on that today.
Okay. Mr. Wade, has service been made?
1 second. The address listed and the address that was served do not appear to match.
Okay.
There just appears to be a discrepancy in the zip code. So
Oh,
if you get, I could probably research this a little bit further.
okay. So given that, Mr. Johnson, let's let Mr.
If
Wade do some
service-
research.
If service hasn't been made and since there's no attorney, the city would not oppose continuing the matter.
Okay. Let's do that then. Just on the let's err on the side of caution. Let's do that. We'll continue this matter then.
Thank you.
Okay, you know, Mr. Wade, you'll be continuing this.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
And
what
that's
would,
case number 36,
no, that was number 25.
25.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I note that I believe the appellant here is on number 18, but I don't think it was called.
No, 18 has not been called. You know, it has been, but we're waiting for Mr. Rulo to return.
Okay,
He's the city
all right.
attorney.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
My apologies.
Yep. Okay, let's move on. I think, Mr. Wade, what's the next matter you would have for us?
The last touched matter is case 35, hearing appeal 0276, 2125 West Cambria, Taraya Taylor.
Okay, and who's the city attorney? Who's the city attorney? Maybe that's Mr. Rulo. Oh, Mr. Fernandez, is this your matter?
Yes, good afternoon, members of the board. Will Fernandez for the city of Philadelphia. I am the attorney handling case number 35 on the list.
Okay, and Taraya Taylor, 2125 West Cambria Street. Anyone, is Miss Taylor present?
I don't believe she is, and I can represent to the board that I exchanged a few emails with her last week. She was a former tenant at this property that no longer lives there. I told her that if she didn't appear at the hearing, her appeal would be dismissed. She didn't confirm one way or another whether she was going to appear or not, but given that conversation, I'm not too surprised that she isn't here.
Okay, Mr. Wade, was service made?
Yes.
Okay, what's your preference, Mr. Fernandez?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Seeing that Ms. Taylor, the appellant, has not appeared, I would request that this board mark this appeal city affirmed for failure to appear,
Okay.
excuse me.
Okay, Mr. Pincus, what time do you have?
2:40 p.m.
2:40 p.m. Okay, thank you. With regard to 000-276-2125 West Cambria Street, Tyra Taylor, that's Tyheerah, Taylor, Taylor, city affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
City affirmed for non-appearance.
City affirmed non-appearance.
Okay, thank you very much. So at the
Mr.
moment, we have,
Chairman,
yes, ma'am.
I beg your pardon, but could you please advise me of what the ruling was for case number 27? I believe I missed
27?
it. Yes. please.
Okay, 27, I was moot.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yep. We have two matters outstanding. I think that's number 10 and number 18. Mr. Rulo still in the breakout room, Mr. Wade?
I will.
No, I'm back. And I had a chance to speak with Mr. Krish. And we agreed to resolve this with a city affirm, but with a reduced fine of $100.
Okay, and Mr. Chris still present?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to have you on the record to confirm that you in fact agreed with the city's representation.
Yes, this is David Krish, and I do agree with the city's representation.
Okay, let's formally give the number for that, Mr. Rulo.
It was a city affirm with a reduced fine of $100.
Okay, and that's case number HA 2022-004-363-240 South Broad Street, David Kirsch and Michelle Hatuka. Okay, there's a settlement. City affirm, $100 fine. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. You excuse Mr. Kirsch. Have a good afternoon.
And I wish my best to Mr. Krish and the family. I understand that everyone's a little bit sick over there, so.
Happy holidays, everybody. Take care.
Same.
Same
Blessings.
to you.
Okay. Now let's move on. I think number 18 was the issue?
Yes.
Yeah, number 18. Okay.
Recall case 18, hearing appeal ending 0122, 318 Kingsley, Kathleen and Catherine Evans.
Okay, Mr. Rulo. You representing this matter?
Yes,
And your inspector.
it's Inspector Calvin White.
Okay. Mr. White, are you present? Mr. Calvin White. I don't see Mr. White's name coming up anywhere.
Give me 1 second.
We will be with you shortly.
Mr. Chair, maybe
Yes.
before we adjourn, you might just want to confirm. I see a bunch of names still on the screen. They may be names from cases that have been disposed of and perhaps need to be just confirmed that they understand that their cases may have been disposed.
Okay. Mr. Wade, are those those identifiers?
Most of the names on there are inspectors or city employees.
Okay. Everyone should know that this is the last matter we're hearing today, I believe. Is that correct, Mr. Wade?
Correct.
So if there's another matter that you're waiting to hear, please unmute yourself and ask about it so that we can give you leave.
Hello, members of the.
Yes.
My matter was resolved as mute.
Oh, okay. So you're welcome to stay on, but your matter's been resolved. So you're permitted. You excuse if you want.
What I was looking to do was, is it possible to have the violation removed from my record?
No. The matter is considered moot. You can call the office and find out what that means and how it affects your record for that address. Okay. All right. Mr. Rulo, are you prepared to proceed?
Mr. White just joined.
I'm sorry. I had a question in regards to my
Your name, sir?
My name is Rob. I'm sorry. My name is Robert DuBois Jr.
Yes.
I'm calling in reference. Well, I'm in reference to property address 1504 West Rescombe Street.
Yes.
I'm unsure if I was called or wasn't called. I was on there the whole time.
Oh yeah, that matter was identified as moot.
Yes. Okay. So how do I proceed with that?
Okay, I'll repeat myself. Any matters that were identified as moot or moot complied, those appellants, if you don't understand that, we advise you to call the office and they will give you additional detail and explanation. Okay, the notice you have for today has a phone number on it. Call that number and they will describe it to you. But for today, your matter is resolved. The violation matter has been resolved.
Thank you so much. You enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you. Okay, do we have Mr. White present?
Yes, we have Inspector Calvin White online now.
Okay. Mr. White, if you're in a vehicle and you're moving, please park. We can't have you participating if you're in a moving vehicle.
It appears that Inspector White is having trouble connecting with the audio. They just saw that he put a message in the chat.
Okay. So can you proceed without him?
I guess at this point, I'm just would ask if we could perhaps take a 5-minute recess just so I can have an opportunity to.
Connected.
Is he connected now?
Yes, he just got on mute now. He just needs to unmute.
Please, Mr. White, please unmute. There you are.
Hello, can you hear
Yes.
me? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I apologize.
Okay, we can hear you now. Okay, so Mr. Wade, would you bring in the case, please?
Case number 18, hearing appeal ending 0122, 318 Kingsley Street, Kathleen and Catherine Evans.
Okay. I would like the three of you to raise your right hand. Ms. Kathleen Evans and Catherine Evans and Mr. White. Raise your right hand so that you may be sworn. Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you give today be the truth, so help you God? Mr. White?
I do.
Ms. Catherine Evans?
I do.
Ms. Kathleen Evans?
I do.
Thank you. You can place your hand down. Before we get started, I just want to confirm that the names that are on the deed to this property are Kathleen Evans and Catherine Evans, correct?
Yes.
Any other names on the deed?
No.
Miss Catherine Evans? You muted.
No.
Okay. Now, because both of your names on the deed and you've appealed this, I'd ask that you decide between the two of you who will be the principal spokesperson. And you'll decide who will ask any cross-examination questions. However, if they are different questions, that's okay. I just don't want both of you asking the same questions or giving the same testimony. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And this property is owned in your individual names, not as a corporation or an LLC or anything like that, of course. Correct.
Correct. No.
Okay. Thank you. All righty. Mr. Rulo, you prepared to proceed?
Yes.
Okay.
And I guess I would just start with a brief introduction. So in this matter, board members, the city in December of 2022 issued a violation notice and order to correct. The two violations that were cited in this matter concerned lack of permits for a retaining walls on the property, and then for the opening side of a exterior wall and doorway. In speaking with the appellants earlier, it's my understanding that they have a permit in process for the doorway, and they are in the process of complying that. So at this point, the dispute between the parties would actually be focusing just on the violation for permits for the retaining walls. And I guess I would just ask the appellants if they could confirm that my understanding of that is correct.
Yes.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. So we would just be proceeding on the violation concerning the retaining walls on the property. And with that,
Mr. Rulo, what's the number for that violation, just so we can keep them straight in the record?
yes, the cited, and I'm actually going to be bringing up the notice of violation.
Oh, okay.
on the screen momentarily.
Sure.
So with that, I would call Inspector Evans and ask that I be permitted to share my screen in a second.
No, that's not Inspector Evans. That's
Excuse me,
White.
Inspector White.
Speaking.
And Inspector White, can you describe what your position is with the Department of License and Inspections?
I'm the building inspector in the complaint unit.
Okay. And are you familiar with the property located at 318 Kingsley Street?
Vaguely.
Are you, and you're aware that it was issued, have you reviewed the records for that property?
Yes.
Okay. And you're aware that a notice of violation was issued for that property, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And with the board's permission, I'd like to share my screen.
Please.
Pardon. Can you see what's been displayed as on the screen as City Exhibit A?
Yes, I see Exhibit A.
Okay, I'm going to zoom in momentarily. And can you see this document that's titled Violation Notice in Order to Correct?
Yes, sir.
And what is this document?
It looks like a notice of violation.
And this was issued to a Catherine D. Evans and a Kathleen Evans, is that correct?
Yes.
And it was for the property located at 318 Kingsley Street, correct?
Yes.
And then turning to the violations here, can you describe what the violations were that were cited at this property?
Give me 1 second. I'm trying to blow this up a little bit. Okay. Yeah, it's saying that they built a retaining wall without permits.
And then there was also the violation for the opening side exterior
Opening of the
wall. for
side
new-
exterior wall for new doorway. Yes, sir.
Okay. And the requirement for these retaining walls is that if there's anything over 2 feet, it must be, there must be a permit obtained for that. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm going to move down to City Exhibit B. And what's being displayed here?
The retaining wall and steps.
Okay. And so this portion of the retaining wall is what we're talking about at this property, correct?
Yes.
And if we move down to this, we see another angle of that retaining wall, correct?
Yes.
And then in addition to that, we see a second step, a retaining wall that's a second retaining wall that is above this main wall, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so the combination of these two is the violation for lack of permits for the retaining wall, correct?
Yes, sir.
And with these types of violations, the issue that the department has is that without permits, there's no understanding as to whether or not those walls are secure and could, prevent further collapse. Is that correct?
Amongst other things, yes.
Okay. What are some of those other issues?
Proper drainage.
Proper drainage. And is that connected to ensuring that it's, safe and not at risk of collapse?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. And then moving down to this photograph, we see another angle showing the two combined retaining walls that are at this property. Correct?
Yes.
And in the appeal forms, the appellants here are focusing on the fact that at the time that this violation was issued, the work was being performed on this upper retaining wall. Is that correct? Is that your understanding?
I can't speak on that, but I can see the pan there, which alludes me to say work was being performed at that time. I don't remember exactly.
But the central focus here is the fact that it's the combination of these two walls that create the issue and the permit requirement, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm going to move down to another photo, and this is showing the various building materials that were part of this work, correct?
Yes.
And then we see another photo showing the work that was occurring on that upper retaining wall, correct?
Yes.
And then this is another angle of that work, correct?
Yes. Yes, sir.
And then turning down to this photo, we see another angle showing the multiple levels of retaining walls that are outside of this property, correct?
Yes, sir.
And does the fact that there's multiple levels heighten the department's concern about and the concern about these issues?
Absolutely.
Okay. And then we're seeing another level showing the multiple levels of the retaining walls here, correct?
Yes.
With a different set of steps then leading up to this further retaining wall over here, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then finally, in this image, we see the doorway on the side that was also cited as a violation, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then finally, you were referencing drainage earlier. And so this is an example of drainage where the department, because of the lack of permits, doesn't have that full understanding of how the drainage is working for these retaining walls, correct?
Can you repeat quick? Because I can't necessarily say that that's drainage.
Well, I guess, could you explain that? In other
In
words,
those
without
retaining
seeing,
walls, since they're holding back earth, you normally would want some kind of drainage where it would probably even be stones missing to allow water to come through. I mean, there are several different processes, but this picture here does not necessarily show me drainage. No, sir.
okay, thank you for the clarification. And at this time, that does it for my initial examination. I just, reserve a little bit of time to recall Inspector White, depending on the questions that the appellants will be asking.
Okay, thank you. On behalf of who will speak on behalf of the appellants, if you have any cross-examination?
I will.
Okay, so if you have any questions for the inspector.
Yeah, I would like to know what the connection the inspector has to this particular violation, because I have a different inspector's name on my violation.
Okay, Mr. White?
I guess just for the record, I would, object to the relevance of this. I believe it was clear that Inspector White was, testifying based on his familiarity with the records, which is.
Yeah, but okay, but your objection is so noted. We will overrule. We also want to know his connection with the actual project. Mr. White, what is your connection to the inspections?
That area of the city was assigned to me after another inspector was reassigned.
Okay. Did you inspect that property yourself?
I have been there, yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, Ms. Evans?
Yeah, can you tell me when you inspected it?
If I'm allowed to go through my phone and look at like off the top of my head, no, ma'am, I cannot. But if I'm given a couple
Well, let's do
minutes,
this because we don't want to, Ms. Evans, I don't think when he inspected it will change the outcome of our decision.
May I present my
Well, when you can, yes,
concern?
in a moment. But at this point, we're asking you if you have any additional questions. In a
I don't
moment, you
believe that he's ever visited my property.
okay. And he said he has, and he can tell you, but the issue will be whether or not you built this without the appropriate permits. That's the issue. And so
Okay.
if you could, before you start, what we're asking you to do, you or Ms. Catherine Evans, if you have any questions for the inspector based on his testimony. If you don't, that's fine. Then at some point, we will then allow you to present your case. Any other questions?
I just would like to know when he went to my property.
Okay.
Because there's
We'll
someone
ask
on my
him.
property all the time.
You've asked that question. I've asked him to, he'll check, he'll find that and come back we'll get back to you with that answer. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Mr. White, Mr. Rulo, I'd like Mr. White to determine when he last inspected the property.
I believe that Inspector White said that he would need a second to
Yeah,
go
that's
through
fine.
the records, but
Yep.
I guess I just go back to, I believe he answered the question, which is at the moment he cannot recall, and I guess I just don't understand at this point what the relevance is of the specific date when he specifically testified that he did inspect the property.
Okay. We will get to that in a moment. I just said if Mr. White can, if he can, if he can't, then he needs to put that on the record. But if he can, identify what date he was last there. And so if he needs to go off the record to do that, let him do that. In the meantime, I'd like Ms. Evans and Ms. Kathleen or Ms. Catherine Evans to present their case. So Mr. White's going to check his date. In the meantime, what is your appeal based on? What is your
We don't
case?
we don't understand why we received violations for these retaining walls because they were not being worked on the day that Inspector Raymond Martinez visited our property on 12/19/2022. Those walls
Okay.
were in existence.
Okay. Mr. Rulo, do you have any questions of Ms. Evans?
Yes, very briefly, if I
Yes.
may.
Well, before you do that, Ms. Rulo, Ms. Evans, is that your appeal?
Well, what was being worked on and everything in the photographs that Mr. Rulo showed us today, the retaining walls that were built on 12/19 were 3 courses of 8-inch block, which I think about 20 inches were above ground, and that does not require a permit. The remaining pictures that he showed of the, uncovered earth were a patio that we were resurfacing with new pavers. And the picture of the building materials are, I think, about 2.5-inch thick pavers. They are patio pavers. All of the work that was being done on 1219 comprised of small retaining walls that were just effectively creating a border for the patio. And they were at most, I think on 2 of the sides, 1 course, and on the remaining side was, I think, 3 courses. And all those blocks are 8 inches. And so from my limited understanding, none of that requires a permit. And that was stated to, again, Inspector Raymond Martinez, who is not present here today. And he said to my contractor that, yes, none of that work required.
I'm just going to object to this on the basis of hearsay.
Yeah, you can't tell us what he told you in this instance, because we would need.
So my understanding is that we do not need a permit
Okay.
for a patio and those size retaining walls. Is that correct?
I'm not sure who you're asking that question of. It's your defense to make the argument. So let me ask you, do you have a witness here that you'd like to bring on to present for you?
I mean, I don't know who I would call.
You could call your contractor. If he's a licensed registered contractor, he shouldn't be able to speak on your behalf.
Well, I didn't
If you have an
realize
architect,
that
but let me finish. Yes, I'm asking you a question. If you have a licensed engineer or architect, that person could be a witness for you. So any of those individuals, if you have them, would be here to answer your question.
I'm just really confused about what the violation is, because
Okay.
I have 2 retaining walls that were in existence
Okay. Okay.
prior to this.
Well,
May I ask a question, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
The violation goes back to December of 2022. We're now hearing this case in December of 2023. Between the date that the violation was issued and today's hearing, Ms. Evans, have you had any conversations with anyone at the Department of Licenses and Inspections regarding this violation and your assertion that no permits were required? You've
I
had a
spoke
year
to-
to do this.
Well, I mean, I can't, may I say that I spoke to Mr. Martinez, or is that considered hearsay?
You said you spoke to Mr. Martinez at the time the violations.
I
were
also
being
spoke to him
vouched.
on the phone. I spoke to him on the phone, and he said, you need permits for all those walls. And I said, those walls were in existence. They were not built that day. And I provided an invoice for the putting green, which was the most recent work that we had done in 2019.
Well, I guess the question also were the walls that you referenced as being done earlier, were you responsible for building them as well?
Well, my mother owned the property prior to February of 2019. I lived there my entire life. And so work has been done on this property continuously, but until 2019, when Catherine and I were put on the deed, ourselves without my mother, I mean, I don't really have a
Do you know,
recollection.
does your mother have, were ever permits ever pulled for those walls?
My mother is deceased, unfortunately.
But that's still, that didn't answer the question.
I don't, there's no permits for these walls.
Did you do any research? Oh, okay, so there are no permits for the walls. Okay. All right, Mr. Rulo, you had some questions.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I would like to ask one question.
Yeah, just a moment. Yes. Mr. Washington?
Yes. How you doing this evening, Mr. Evans?
How you
I'm
doing?
looking at a proposal, an agreement with landscaping and contracting dated 9/1/19.
Mm-hmm.
And it states real clear, replace existing rubble walls with wall block.
Yeah, that's the putting green.
They say wall, don't say green, say wall. I'm talking about the wall. I'm only discussing the wall that's on your proposal.
Yeah, there's a wall around the putting green.
And they replacing a wall.
The entire property has rubble walls that have been there since, I'm guessing, prior to 1974, which is when I moved in, when I was 4.
So you did replace walls with wall block.
One of the walls, yeah. I mean, the walls have all been replaced over time.
And
But
did you get any permits for any of that?
I didn't because I didn't own the house. My mother did.
So as far as you know, there was never any permits pulled to build these walls to go around quote unquote your putting green.
No, there was not. They're less than 3 feet.
Do you have any proof of that?
I mean, I can
No,
get a measure.
that you brought to court with you to prove your case.
No, because I'm not a lawyer and I didn't understand what I needed to do. I'm here to say that the work that was being done on 12/19 was replacing a patio and putting in a small retaining wall that did not exceed 24 inches. And a door for which I am obtaining a permit.
So you didn't have a permit when all this work was done?
No, I don't. You do not need a permit to replace a patio surface.
Okay, but didn't you just say you had a doorway cut into the wall?
Yes, and I'm
did you get a permit for that?
I'm obtaining it right now.
So you don't have a permit and you did the work?
Yes.
Okay, no more questions, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Rulo, you had follow-up?
Yes, so I think that just to frame the legal question that's here is that there seems to be a focus on the assertion here from Ms. Evans is regarding that kind of what I would describe in the photos that Inspector White testified about. There's the multiple levels of walls that were displayed in those photographs. There was the upper level of the wall, which it appears that Ms. Evans is referencing as having been worked on at the time. And then there was the second level of wall that Inspector White testified to. And so the city's position here is that all of those, the combination of them, is what requires the permit. And I don't think that it could be subject to dispute at this point that that lower wall by itself is much higher than 2 feet. And Inspector White testified as to the issues and the reason why permits are required is it's the combination of that lower wall, which is clearly in excess of 2 feet, in addition to the second level of retaining wall that's above that. And I believe that, as Ms. Evans just testified to, none of those walls were constructed with a permit. And while I understand that I understand the assertion by Ms. Evans that one of these walls or portions of these walls were constructed before she became the record owner of the property, that doesn't change the legal responsibility that the owner is responsible for ensuring that the work that was done on their property and the work that exists on the property is compatible with the code and has valid permits that were issued to support that. It's a reality of these cases that sometimes individuals purchase a home and discover that work was previously done without permits. That doesn't change their legal responsibility to then comply those violations. So that's kind of where we are at this point. And I think, you know, at where we stand, there's been an admission that none of these walls were constructed without permits. We've heard from Inspector White about what the issues are associated with that and why permits are required. And so, you know, at this point, I don't think that there's more testimony that would be necessary for the board to render a decision, you know, finding that this is a valid violation.
Ms. Evans, I also would ask you, I assume you would retain the services of an engineer or architect to document the permit request for the door that you cut in the wall?
I hired an architect. I cannot for the life of me find an engineer to help me with these walls that is going to cost me less than $6,500.
Okay. So the architect that you hired, have you consulted with that individual in terms of his interpretation of the code?
He said that he had absolutely no problem helping me obtain a permit for the door. It was very straightforward, the work that we did. And he's also helping us with another item that is not, that's not, but he said he does not have the qualifications to look at the wall. And so the only person that I've been able to find gave us a quote of $6,500.
Okay.
Which I feel is burdensome.
Okay. The issue though is that you may need to keep look around for some additional. There
I've
may
been
be
looking
other
for a
engineer.
year.
No, you can't speak while I'm speaking.
I apologize.
So you may need to continue to search for an engineer because the violations are real and valid to a point. So, but we haven't voted yet. But that's the issue. I'd ask my colleagues to join me in a breakout session before we come to a point of voting on this. Ms. Evans, do you have any additional? You or Ms. or Catherine, do you have any additional comments you'd like to make?
No, I think Kate did well, John.
Okay. All right.
What you're saying, so if I bought this house from a stranger and my neighbor called L&I repeatedly, and I know for a fact, and I can't prove it, that he knows an inspector, Inspector Spinks, and he got Raymond Martinez out there in 2 days, and they walked around my yard on
Okay.
an iPhone call.
But Ms. Evans, wait.
Violations.
Ms. Evans, you were asking me a question. If you were a stranger who bought the house and somebody complained, and if the complaint resulted in an inspection and the same conditions were identified when they came to the house, yes, you would be, as the current owner of the property, be liable for any work that was done that did not get the proper permits. The answer to that question is yes. Now, I don't know who called whom. We don't know who did that. But our job is to determine whether or not the violation that's written was written correctly. And so that's why I'm asking you some of the questions I'm asking you regarding professional help that you sought out to help you make this appeal. That's what we're dealing with.
Mr.
Now,
Chair,
yes.
I'm sorry. Can I just
Yes,
say
ma'am.
one? This has been a year-long process where my wife has exhausted a lot of money, a lot of time. No one in the city at L&I or contractors will help us resolve this. I'm not quite sure why. Mr. Martinez does not return phone calls to me. We will probably have to pursue this further now that he didn't even show up today when he was the one that came out to our property. But
Well, the city chose not to call him as a witness.
okay, thank you for that. But if going forward that any of you, including Mr. White on here, could give us names of people who would be willing to help us resolve this, ultimately that we would like our backyard that has been in shambles since this, where we can't use it, to be usable and safe. So going forward, I would really love to have some help.
Okay, well,
Chairman,
yes.
And I can confirm
Mr.
that.
Rullo.
Okay,
Go
but
ahead,
just
Mr.
one moment, Mr. Tennant.
Let Mr. Rullo go ahead. I'll wait.
I can confirm that as of this morning, I've been in email contact with both Ms. Evans and her wife. I believe both were on those communications, and I'm happy to put them in touch with the applicable inspector and facilitate that communication, as it appears that they've expressed, that they do want to move towards compliance and ensuring that this is all, legal and safe. So I'm happy to facilitate that communication. I was unaware that they, were having that problem in terms of getting a response from the appropriate inspector. So I can facilitate that communication moving forward.
Okay, Mr.
Mr.
Tennant.
Chairman, I'd just like to add on to what Mr. Rullo said. I was going to ask that the communication also include the district supervisor, which both Kathleen and Miss Catherine had not spoken about. So, Mr. Rullo, if you can get them in touch with the district supervisor for communication, I think that would be.
Yes, and I'd just like to note, I believe that Inspector White did testify that Inspector Martinez no longer works for the department and is no longer assigned to that. So I believe that could be part of the issue that occurred here.
Now,
Thank you.
the other thing I would say to you, Miss Evans, I would say to you that sometimes legal counsel is appropriate for you. These are complicated matters. Unless you're trained as an engineer, architect, or landscape architect, or a real estate attorney, your resources will be well applied to have appropriate legal representation in these kinds of negotiations and problems. These are difficult for laypersons to navigate without appropriate advice. We're going to take a short break in the breakout room. We need to review this matter as a group. We will come back to you. It's now 3:16. We will be back no later than this. Thank you. We're back on the record regarding this matter. Just one moment, please.
And if I may, before the board renders its decision, I do have a brief update.
Yes, just before you do that, Mr. Rulo, I just want to make sure I'm referencing the proper case here regarding HA-2023-000-122 318 Kingsley. We're back on the record. Mr. Rulo?
Yes, so in reviewing the file on our end, you know, I obviously don't know what the board's decision is going to be yet, but to the extent that the board would be inclined to issue a city affirm here, the city is willing to agree to a 6-month stay of enforcement as part of that city affirm. So we just wanted to note that for the record for the board's consideration.
Okay, thank you very much. Before we do vote, either Catherine or Kathleen Evans, either of you have any final words that would help us in our decision?
I just have,
And just identify yourself so the court
I'm
will know
sorry.
who's talking. Yeah.
all right, this is Catherine. My one question is, did Mr. White ever figure out what date he was at the property? Because I believe we have a right to know that.
Okay, we did ask Mr. White to go back and check his record. Mr. Rulo, just recall Mr. White, please. You
I'm here.
muted, Mr. Rulo. Yeah, there you go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, so
Can you hear me?
call Inspector White to answer that question.
Yes, Inspector White?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, no, I apologize. I recently had difficulties with my phone and I don't have access to my laptop because I'm in the street. I could not retrieve those pictures.
Okay, thank you. All right, unfortunately, he doesn't have that date for you, Miss Evans.
Okay. And
Okay.
can I ask one more question? Why did it take a whole year for this appeal to be heard? Because now Mr. Raymond Martinez can't even testify because he's no longer an employee. Apparently.
Well, the issue is volume of cases to be heard. We have we have 40 cases today. The list is very long, and unfortunately, for the general public as well as the city itself, these cases have taken longer to schedule just because of the back and COVID didn't help. So that's the reasoning. Nothing particular to your matter. Everybody's having to live through this.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
I would just like to get that date when
Mr. Rulo has offered to facilitate communications between yourselves and the city, and you can work through that. As we again said to you earlier, you should consider hiring skilled professionals to work with you in this, legal as well as design and engineering. You need those skills on your side to help you, so you focus on the right stuff. Okay. Alrighty. If there's nothing else, we've heard testimony. We think all the facts are on the record. We will call the vote on HA-2023-000-122, 318 Kingsley, Catherine and Kathleen Evans, city affirmed with a 6-month stay of enforcement.
Before I give my vote, I would just like to point out to the ladies Evans that Mr. Rulo has reviewed his file. He's giving you a substantial amount of time to resolve this matter. And whatever it is, you've undertaken and committed, it appears, to a substantial amount of work at your property. And so it's in your interest to contact either your architect or hire an engineer and work it out with the city. You have 6 months now to get, if you need a building permit or permits, to deal with the issue. So I just want to say, notwithstanding the time that's lapsed between the date you filed your appeal and today, you're being given 6 months to find a resolution to the work that's being and you intend to get done on the property. So we've closed the argument. My vote is city affirmed with a 6-month stay of enforcement.
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 City affirmed 6-month stay of enforcement.
Okay, thank you. That matter is complete for today.
Can I
Yes,
ask, so does that mean we have 6 months to resolve this?
It means that the city will not take any additional enforcement action during the 6-month period. However, it would be to your advantage to proceed as quickly as you can to come up with a plan to resolve it.
Sir,
And-
we've been trying for a whole year with L&I,
Whole
so
year.
I'm
Look,
hoping.
Call
1
Mr.
year.
Rulo. Call
1
Mr.
year
Rulo.
to the day.
I
1
hear
year
you,
to the
and
day.
I'm giving you some advice. Call Mr. Rulo. He's
Okay.
offered to facilitate a conversation. Take advantage of his offer.
Thank you.
Okay. In the meantime, hire your own professionals who can tell you exactly what to do. Professionals who do this every day. They can help you navigate this system.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good day. You excuse. Mr. Wade, do we have anything else for today's docket?
No, that's it.
Okay.
That's-
Thank you, everyone.
that's everything.
Have a good afternoon and a good holiday for all of you. But we are rescheduled for Thursday, the 21st. We'll be back here again. And so for those who are scheduled for the 21st, we'll see you then. Have a good evening.
Everyone.